Hello and welcome to the Twin Troopers podcast. My name is Eric.
Hey, and I'm Jake.
And Jake, this week we're gonna take it back in time a little bit. We're gonna talk about the Sentry droid. It's been an all Imperial on deck type of recording sessions recently.
Right. Well, all Imperial on deck type of last 4 months.
Sorry, that's true. It's true. So, we're still living in the. I know the Rebels. It really is kind of an issue of that. I just haven't had enough time to play the new the Rebels list. Spectre cell list.
Right.
But that is next on my to do. So I'm excited to get to those. But right now we're going to talk about Sentry droids because they kind of.
And I've been having
missed them in their time, in their heyday.
Right.
Which they did have a small window where people really liked them, and then they kind of disappeared by Worlds.
Right. That's actually pretty weird. Like I don't know what happened there, but I haven't had a chance to play any of the Rebels lists because I've been having way too darn much fun with Vader, Palp, and Thrawn lists, which is real fun.
Yeah.
Real good. The High Command.
All right. Well, before we get on a tangent, which we would never do, obviously.
Oh, never.
No, this never happened. Why don't you tell us about the Sentry Droid card?
Sure. The Sentry Droid card is a 10 cost, 2-figure deployment. Each figure costs 5 points.
Go big or go home.
Damn right. They have 8 health, 4 speed, a black defense die, and a ranged attack of green, yellow.
Nice.
So they have surges, 3 of them. They have surge for +1 damage, surge for pierce 2, and surge for +2 accuracy. They have abilities too, Eric.
Ooh, finally. A card of abilities.
They have special action, multi-fire. Perform 2 attacks. Each attack must have a different target. Apply -1 damage to each attack's results.
Okay. 2
so
attacks.
they have a good little crowd control ability there. They also have charged shot, which is a special action to perform an attack. Apply +2 accuracy to the attack results. So they have options when they come to their attack time. They also have targeting computer. While attacking, you may reroll 1 attack die.
God, the best ability in the whole game, targeting computer. Jesus.
Well, yeah, definitely. They're professionals at targeting things.
They're excellent. Computers and all.
And they have traits too. They're trooper, droid, and guardian.
Oh, do not want to forget that trooper droid combo. Oh, delicious. So
yeah,
awesome.
Good stuff there. And then guardian, which is whatever.
I don't even see when that word's on the when the guardian trait is on a card. I don't even see it anymore. It's just like a blank spot. Like, why'd they leave that space there? Why there's no word there? Okay. Stats for our good Sentry droids. They have a 90% chance to do 3 damage. What's the deal with this, Jake? What's 90? Is that for the regulars too? Did you put on?
No, they're so sorry. I wrote this down in a fashion that only I can read. Apparently, 3 damage. They hit 90% of the time against a black die and 75% of the time against a white die.
That's what it is. It's the black and white die difference. Okay, so 90% chance to do 3 against black and 75% chance to do 3 against white. Seeing that Pierce 2 coming into play on the damage there. Delightful. Then 4 damage, 66% chance against the black die and 52. So 66% chance to do 4 is pretty good.
Not bad at all. Which you would expect what you would hope to get those kind of numbers on a 5 cost unit.
Right. And this is before reroll. So
this before reroll, so your mileage will be probably better.
That's right. And then for focused, 92% chance against black die to do 4 damage.
Whew, which is bonkers.
Yeah, so good. Then 78% chance against a white. And then for 5 damage, a 78% chance to do 5 damage when focused. Oh, so good against black. 65.
Right, and then obviously subtract 1 for each of these for the multiplier stats.
Yep. Pretty darn good. Pretty darn good.
These guys, they're pretty powerful.
Well, let's get right into this with the strengths. Let's talk about some strengths.
These guys are flexible.
Did you just say flexible? They are flexible. Oh yeah, well tell me about it.
Well, obviously if you've seen the show, you know that they can spin around completely at the waist. They can just move their hands where the heck they feel like it.
They can touch their toes. They can do the splits. Yeah.
You should see them at yoga. It gets crazy.
Oh my God.
In the game though, they're they're pretty good snipers with their charge shot ability. They have an average range of somewhere in the, just off the top of my head, in the 6-ish to 7 area, and that's before rerolls and before applying a surge.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd say 5 to 6 before rerolls or surges is about what you'd expect.
So good.
Or they have and then the multiplier, they can, if they get up into the fray of a couple with being able to hit a couple units, they can do a lot of damage. Right. Pierce 2 and plenty of surges means that you can work through Spectre Cell.
Right. So, I mean, the reason why we focus kind of on, so I just want to make sure this is clear why they're like both a sniper and a brawler in some ways, is that, right, they've got they have charge shot, which gives +2 accuracy to do kind of this long range attack.
Right.
A much longer range attack, I guess I should say, than they would normally be comfortable doing. Which is great because they do a good amount of damage. Charge shot is, it's as good as a regular attack. They're a 3 dice figure, so it's strong with an average of, basically 4 damage against a black die. Pretty confident in 4 damage versus a black die. But the other thing is, if your opponent advances on you, you can actually, I think ideally I would want to use them as a sniper for as long as possible. Keep them safe for as long as possible. But if your opponent does decide to get, a little feisty with you, a little aggressive, now if he moves more than 1 figure up, well, you can start using multi-fire, which stops you from, if you use that, you're not going to get the +2 accuracy. But yeah, multi-fire will let you target 2 figures at once, allowing you to do a total of 4 attacks between the 2 of them. Sorry.
So you're probably taking 2 or maybe even 3 figures off the board with a good multi-fire activation. Right.
So incredibly, like, they have their own built-in kind of like don't get near me type of thing, like stay away from me. Back off with that. I mean, something else I really like about them too is that they're I don't think we really thought about them in this way, but I think about them in this way, in that they're a big nerf to a card like Zillow, because it really devalues that Pierce cancellation. Because if someone brings 2 sets of Sentry droids, there's just like there's too much
to do with.
There's too much Pierce, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, I canceled one of these Pierces, and now I gotta, I don't get any black dice for the rest of the freaking game. For the rest of the round, I don't get black dice. So it's totally it's incredibly painful to deal with them. And this is a strength that I mentioned to you, Jake, when we were just starting, that the biggest strength for me for a Sentry droid is just the consistency. So with that three, okay, let's start here. 2 green dice in their pool of 3 dice total. So 2 greens, they get a free reroll.
And a yellow.
Any yellow, yeah. I know, yeah. Sorry, I meant 2 green dice in the pool of 3 dice total. The other one's yellow. I think the yellow can be a little yellow. We know can be a little swingy, but the green are
That's
good
why we
dice
have a reroll.
That's right. We have a reroll. We got a reroll. We have Pierce 2 with a ton of surged potential, right?
Right. Let me. I think like on average, you're going to be getting like 2 per roll, and 3 is not unheard of.
Low rolling, very, very low chance of them low rolling their damage, right? And then the chance of you high rolling to get out of the damage, like rolling a 3 block on a black, it like kind of doesn't matter to them, right? They're going to get rid of 2 of the surges, 2 of the blocks every time, basically.
Right. Before reroll, you get 2 surges 63% of the time. So you're going to be using that damage and that pierce most of the time.
And I mean, the best case your opponent can really hope for, I think, on average, is like, man, I hope you roll a ton of surges. I hope you roll way too many surges. And they still get a +1 damage off one of those surges. So it's not even like a total wash, right? It's still pretty good. Very strong unit. Dear goodness.
Yeah. Another reason that they're really strong is that they have all the synergy.
Trooper. They basically go with everything in Imperials, it feels like.
And
never ends, Jake.
And they blend pretty well into into the Scum faction as well.
Yeah, they fit everywhere. The thing is that with the droid trooper list, right? That is droid trooper trait fits them into Imperial incredibly well, right? So with jet troopers, they fit really well with cards like shared experience, ATDP, true, yep, also very good.
Yeah, that droid vehicle heavy weapon trifecta of traits that just have all the cards in common.
Right. Troopers though too, like I think they take advantage of like one of the best cards in the game, right? In
Call the Vanguard.
Yes, thank you. God, my brain is just so slow right now. It's like I could picture. I like picturing the art. Thank you for finishing my sentences, Jake. But yeah, Call the Vanguard, a 3-dice trooper with a reroll on Pierce 2. Call the Vanguard. Oh, best Call the
Good
Vanguard
stuff.
card, I think.
Good
oh my god,
stuff.
Hits hard. And also something I really like about them too is that they, in my mind, again, it's the consistency, which basically it just makes them in some ways I'd call them like they're a closer, right? There's a figure on this board that has like 6 health left or 5 health left. 2 Sentry droids are probably going to get the job done. I don't have a lot of questions about them not getting it done. So
right, yeah, and that's definitely something that helps them be good at what they do.
Right, so strong, so strong. Oh,
yeah, but yeah, when you'll see when we get down to the command cards that they just have. Between their 2 traits, they just have a lot to work with.
Yeah, it's just nonstop. Can you speak at all? Like, how do they fit into Scum? If you want to tell me that a little bit more, I don't really.
So actually, if I remember right, the Omaha Regionals, which was one of the higher caliber, like player bases, I think it was like 4 or 5 people out of the top 16 the year before went to that regionals. Was won by a Scum Sentry list. So these guys with focus put out a lot of damage. And then if you can use Hera, they like the charge shot plus the focus, so they get their surge plus Hera, they can easily get out to 10, 12 range.
Right. Yeah, so good. Yeah, and it's kind of interesting that they are reminiscent of Weak Ways, kind of in the way that they mitigate their bad luck.
Right. Yeah, they get the reroll to get out of their bad luck, and then they have a pretty close dice pool, so it's just
got those green dice, got those rerolls, got a way
unfortunately not hunters.
Yep. No, but got ways to add damage on their end, mitigate defense on their opponent's end. It's feel very reminiscent, except for their cost, which is a weakness. Boom.
Yeah.
Transition.
Hey, look at that.
Wow, that's practice, ladies and gentlemen.
Like it's like we're like trying to make a show or something.
Am I right? Yeah, weaknesses. So let's talk about this. 8 hit points on a 5-point figure. Ugh.
Yeah, it's not the best.
Now, what I like about this, so it's still weakness, but it actually encourages a very careful play style. Right? You get these figures, you get punished very hard if let's say if you're wild or reckless with these figures, right?
Yeah, these guys, they need to be used strategically, surgically, one might say.
Yep. They're definitely like a machine, some might say. Some might describe them as a machine. Yeah, it's totally true that right, this is not a figure that you can really come back from if you lose. And I would say they get incredibly worse when you lose one of the Sentry droids, if you lose half the group.
Yes, because then you don't have the capability to multi-fire for 4 attacks. Right.
Well, you lose the multi-fire. You also lose like this guaranteed. So right, if I think about them as a very high likelihood to do 4 damage per attack, there's a lot of figures that you want to be able to get rid of by doing like a steady 8 damage, with an activation. If you can guarantee 8 damage over the course of an activation, that's pretty good. But man, if you're only activating 1,
that's like 8 damage in a single activation. Like that's getting up into Vader or like Ezra territory.
Right. Exactly. And this is like with rerolls and everything like that too. So, but once you lose, right, you lose 1, and now it's just like being able to do 4 is a lot less, I guess I would say, threatening. So
yeah.
Depressing in its own way.
And the other problem with their cost is that it's very difficult to build around a 10-point unit.
Ooh, yes.
Just in the Imperial faction and in general, like these are your centerpiece units, but they don't really fight like it. So they're kind of like just hanging out in the back, or if they're not hanging out the back, they're getting their stuff kicked in.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I think that is it's one of the, it's right. It's all the same weakness in some way. It's just I keep thinking of it in different frames, but right, this idea of squishy and expensive and right, one mistake, 8 HP means that they now I will say 8 HP in a single figure again can be strong against other units that don't have access to Pierce. So like I would say against like a set of jet troopers or a set of riot troopers.
Yeah, I think
I don't think
one Sentry survives a jet activation most of the time, but just the fact that like in a world with Spectre Cell and Vader and IG-88, they just kind of don't feel very good.
Well, and that is they have that very they have a very back and forth type offensive position with those units, I would say, right? Because in some ways they're very good against a figure like Vader or IG-88, you know, with that Pierce 2. Because it can be very hard for other units to push damage on those figures in particular with their defensive bonuses.
Right.
Whereas these guys have an easy time, but at the same time, right, it's so easy. You know, like, you know, I'm sure we've said this before, right? But a Vader with 10 damage on him is as strong as a Vader with 0 damage on him. A Sentry droid that is one Sentry droid has been killed is way worse than when you've got both of them. So.
It's terrible.
So, you know, the things, and I mean, you know, it's kind of a trade-off, I guess, in some ways in that, right? A Sentry droid, you know, you can actually split them up to do different things if you wanted to, but I don't think that's what their strength is, but at least they have that flexibility.
Yeah. I mean, they have the range to support each other, even if they are split up a little bit of ways, but but it's not ideal. You want to get in there and you want to get a double multi-fire off if possible.
Right. And I guess, you know, and then to this, the next point of this, the squishy part is when you lose a set of sentries, boy, do you give up so many points. Whew. Like just a quarter of your opponent's victory is handed to them if you like one mistake gives them a quarter of the victory.
Yeah, it's rough.
And I mean and the hard part is too, it's like against some lists like you know, Unshakable Vader, you might just lose 2 Sentry droids before you even get to do very much, right? Given under certain circumstances, right? You can just lose 10 points right away and that'll it's a quick road to the end right there.
Yeah, it's rough. But I guess like that's probably why they aren't the most common unit anymore. But if you do get them out of your box, they can definitely be worth it once you put in the practice. Yeah.
And so, you know, kind of going back to like when I, you know, this notion of them being closers that is how I see them though, is that if they do make it to like a round 3, beginning of round 3, like some of my biggest losses have been games where I had an opponent who could activate a full group of sentries at the beginning of round 3, right? Because it's at that point, it's almost guaranteed that, you know, you've traded some damage. You probably have some figures that have taken some damage.
Yeah, you're losing 3-4 figures in one of those activations.
Right. Yeah, depending on if it's a multi-fire or regular activation. But if you've got a couple units out there that are like 4 health, 5 health left, it's like it's very likely that they could remove 1 or 2 figures, you know, on minimum at min.
Yeah.
And then at that point you probably lost. So
yeah, it's so yeah, and that kind of blends us right into strategy where they do best of being in the back lines in the beginning of the game, then kind of move forward to clean up during rounds 3 and 4.
Right. And I would completely agree with that. Like keep them back, keep them safe because, you know, like we said, they're too expensive to lose early on. And I think the way that you honestly want to play them typically is you're really trying to, you know how sometimes we'll say on this show, like you want to be the person asking the questions and not having to respond. You want to be the person who's forcing a response. I do feel like they benefit a lot if you're playing a list that is all finding a way to pressure your opponent in various ways so they can't prioritize the sentry droids, like make them prioritize something else.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of why I never tried the scum sentries myself, is that they're like those 2 units are pretty much the entirety of your threat. So
So your opponent doesn't need to intuit really what to do. They know what they need to get
right. And that's also my same problem that I had with Han Rangers, is that if you can get rid of 2 Rangers, you win before they kill too much of you.
That's right. And then you just ignore Han the rest of the game. Just kills with one of your things every round. Sad. But so, you're keeping them around best you can. Hopefully you're making it into that, like we talked about that later. You want them to make it into round 3 ideally, because that's when they're really going to shine with that just guaranteed 4 damage. Basically, they're probably gonna be able to clean up a number of figures.
Yeah, Yeah, if you can get in there, get some multi-fire, get some not multi-fire, just get in there round 3. And that's also kind of why I like using them with jets. Is not only is there the command card synergy that we were talking about earlier, but they also have a roll synergy as well, where the jets want to be up in your opponent's face and blasting away with their flyby ability, which then can be pretty distracting for the opponent, and they won't go after the sentries who are hanging out in the back and sniping into the melee.
Right, right. And especially when those jets are up in your face, it's just like, oh, I feel like I have to. It's almost like when we've talked about using the Bantha to distract for some of your other units. Almost like you want that level of distraction kind of for your sentry droids.
Yeah.
It's like please ignore them.
Bantha and sentries.
I've born a new list. We've all made it. But honestly, I think they do shine. I think we would be probably foolish to talk about this a lot more outside of the command cards, because I actually think in some ways their command cards really are.
That's one of the main reasons you bring them, is that they have access to a lot of good command cards.
Yep, lots of good command cards that synergize well with other Imperial units. So, like for instance, like we already said, Call the Vanguard, probably the best unit to call the Vanguard with. Or near
the best non-hero unit. Taro's pretty nice with it.
Taro's pretty nice. I still think he has a higher chance of low. As someone who's played a lot of Taro, he can low roll pretty bad.
I'll give you that.
Low roll pretty badly. But Sentry droids love a good, like 3 dice with a free reroll.
Yeah.
Ooh, so good. Then we've got another command card we got here, Price of Glory.
We should probably read Call the Vanguard.
You're right.
Use at the start of a round. A friendly trooper with figure cost of 4 or greater may interrupt to perform a move and an attack.
Yep, just scooch on out there, take a shot at him. No charge shot though, but still good. Yeah,
and that's why the move is good, because without the charge shot, you're averaging around 3 to 4-ish range, which is not bad.
Yep. And especially if you're going to get first activation that round. Awesome.
Yeah.
So good. Next card, Price of Glory, which is a 2-point card for any Imperial figure. And it states, use during your activation, discard 1 harmful condition and gain 2 movement points. Then you may suffer 1 damage to gain up to 2 different wild power tokens. So pretty good. Give yourself a damage token. Give yourself maybe a block token or something like that.
Give yourself 2 damage and multi-fire with no negative.
Can you do it? It says gain up to 2 different wild ones.
Oh, darn different. Yeah.
Still, that damage power token's great. So
yeah, get a damage power token on 1, and then just I don't know. I guess you take the evade. It depends on the list, obviously.
Yeah, it depends what's going on. And I think it's important to note that this synergizes really well with Concentrated Fire, which we've talked about in other episodes. But it's a 1-point trooper card. Use when a friend.
It's actually on this list as well.
Yeah. I wanted to bring it up now because this lets you get rid of a harmful condition. So. Use when another friendly trooper declares an attack targeting a target in your line of sight. If you have a ranged attack type, add 1 red die to the attack pool, you become stunned. So you can kind of use it to get that stun off you.
Right. Or other troopers can use Concentrated Fire to add a red die that can then be rerolled.
Yep. So good. Oh, adding a red dice to these guys? Oh, scary.
It's mean.
Awful.
It's mean.
Jake, why don't you tell us about Hunter Protocol?
Hunter Protocol is a card I kind of threw on now that we're starting to run into more and more super defensive units like Vader or Spectre Cell or IG. Use while attacking. It's a droid only command card for 1 point. Use while attacking. You may trigger the same surge ability up to twice.
So good with 2 Pierce 2s and the damage, honestly, too, right? It's not bad.
Yeah. If somehow you get 4 surges, then you're just you're in business. Or no, you can only use it the 1 time. So you can get Pierce 4 and +1 on a lot of rolls there.
Right. Yep. Pretty good.
Also really good with them, Shared Experience. We were talking earlier about how good.
Yeah, maybe the best card with them in some ways.
Yeah. Use during your activation, droid or vehicle. Use during your activation to gain, spend 3 movement points to become focused. Then whenever a friendly droid or vehicle is defeated, you may redraw this card.
Yeah, so good.
Back out of the discard pile.
I've had too many games where I've, tried to get aggressive on a sentry droid, and then all of a sudden my opponent is just like, Shared Experience. you know, I'm
Right.
standing next to him already. So shared experience. All right. Then I'll attack, 4 dice, free reroll, Sentry Droid attack into you. It's like, oh, God.
Gross.
And then, you kill a jet or a Sentry Droid and then it gets it back. And it's like, oh, let's just start this again.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean,
Yeah.
it can add up if they, if they can get 2 or 3 shared experience shots with their sentries. Oh, man.
That's some nasty stuff.
A lot of damage. Speaking of damage, we'll go on to the next card. Ready Weapons is a 0-point trooper or guardian card. And for an action, distribute 3 damage power tokens among figures in your group. So great card with multi-fire.
Yep, you just stack up 2 tokens onto one guy. They multi-fire with no negative.
Yep, they're taking advantage of it. So good. Then we got one more card here. It looks like Targeting Network. You want to read this one?
Sure. Droid or heavy weapon. Use while attacking to reroll 1 attack die. While this card is in your discard pile, you may your droids gain surge to redraw this card. These guys roll a lot of surges, and they like they already have a reroll. Getting more rerolls, not bad.
Never hurts to get another reroll.
Exactly. If you need it, then you need it, especially if you pull off the dreaded triple surge.
The dreaded triple surge. Yep, we've all been there. And this is a card that actually would synergize with the ATDP if you wanted to run with it. I don't know if I haven't seen many people do. The problem is the ATDP is just a little bit too expensive to run with the Sentry Droids as well.
Right, and they both kind of do, they're both similar roles of heavy fire support from range, so you kind of want to have a more balanced list than what that would supply you.
Exactly. Who's gonna soak up the damage? Who's gonna damage soak? I suppose the ATDP has to be the damage soak, huh?
I guess.
Do you want that? Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, both deployment cards have the same amount of total health? Question mark?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, hard to say. Cool cards though. Great, lots of good command cards that just shared experience and Call to Vanguard probably on their own are almost make them worth it. Yep. Yeah. Not shown here, but also honorable mention. I've seen people use Grenadier against me with these cards. So
really, I would think that they'd be too busy using their attacks to Grenadier. You want to use the Grenadier with your lower attacking guys like Riots or maybe Jets.
Totally true. I think it was mainly though a moment when I was already close to him, so they just had an attack as it was, or they multi-fired and then Grenadiered or something like that.
Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah, it's painful. I mean, again, just focusing on that synergy with the other troopers, right? Very, very easy to play the Sentry Droid with the rest of Imperials.
Right. If you're in an Imperial list where you're bringing Sentry Droids, you probably have other troopers who are gonna have Grenadier, so it's just good to have that option open.
Yeah. We didn't talk about this, but they are also nice. They're good cards with the Emperor too. I mean, any 3 dice ranged figure with the Emperor with a free reroll, pretty nice, right? Free attack.
I mean, you just described the thing that you just described is only ATDP and sentries anyway, but still good stuff.
Pretty good stuff.
What about these lists?
Let's talk about these lists, Jake. Well, let's start out with the bread and butter here. Double Sentry, double Jets. Nothing wrong with this, is there?
Yeah, it's just pure efficiency.
I mean, it's these lists are always so funny to do with the Sentries because it's just okay, half your points off the bat. 2 elite sentries. That's 20 points. You want to do other troopers? Okay, that's 34 points for the Jets and sentries. Well, okay, have fun with your officers. Yeah, 2 officers, Rule by Fear, and Zillow. It's a very basic list, but man, does it! But it has a lot to work with. That's the word I'm looking for. Lots of HP, lots of offense. That's pretty nice. So I don't think this would be a bad beginner list, honestly. Oh yeah, it's definitely very beginner friendly because you have enough beef to go around. And honestly, nowadays you could drop that Rule by Fear for Zillow and get even more beef onto your Jets. You mean drop it for extra armor? Is that what you're thinking? Yes. Yep. Yes, that's what I meant to say. Yeah, lots of good. Yeah. This list as a beginner list is actually pretty amazing since you'd get to learn a lot of mechanics. You'd get to see the benefit of synergy with command cards, things like that. Pretty good stuff. But now the harder sell, I suppose, the Scum Sentries list. Tell me about it. Yeah, tell me about it. I no longer have the exact Scum Sentries list
off the top of my head that one Omaha that I was talking about last year, but but this one is using some of the new stuff. We have Elite Sentry Droid, Onar Koma, Hondo Onaka, Harrison Dula, Gideon Argus, Elite Jawa Scavenger, R2D2, C3PO, Temp Alliance, Black Market Doubt. So this list is actually, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, this list is more not scum than it is scum, but who cares?
It's just Sentry Droid fun stuff, basically. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, no, you have Hondo and Onar to kind of be frontline-ish while the Sentry Droids shoot from the back, and then you just have a butt ton of support. All of the Rebel training wheels, all 4 of them.
Get in there. Hera, Gideon, go. C3PO, go.
R2D2,
R2D2
coming in behind.
Get some cards. Stand in front. Yeah, I mean, it totally. I would not play this list ever, Jake, but just everyone know you can do it. I think I've seen people try to play the Sentries with IG-88 for like the ultimate droid.
Yeah,
synergy.
Actually, that was the list that won the Omaha Regionals was IG-88
So
Sentries.
are we just lying to ourselves that really is just IG-88 ultimately?
I mean, yeah, that's probably not too far off the bat. I've also seen them run with Rangers to mixed effect.
Interesting. Yeah, they're a fun. I feel like they're probably strongest in Imperial just because this is your sniper class unit, and plus you get all the other efficiencies of Imperial units.
Right.
But if I had to choose, I mean, when I think about Scum and Rebels, if I have the option between Rangers and Weakways, they're probably close enough in function that I would take them over the Sentries.
Right. Because
but in Imperials, I think they're a great idea, actually.
Yeah, no, they're just a fun unit. I don't see too much of them, but we also don't see too much of Imperials in general around here. Or we're starting to see a little bit more, but still not as much.
Well, I think people are still enjoying kind of the Rebels box, still enjoying the Tyrants of Lothal stuff. So
right,
and like you said, it's hard. I mean, maybe the reason, especially why I don't see them, right? It's just hard to make a list with 20 points of elite sentries in it.
Right. Yeah, it's rough.
We've talked about this, I suppose, for the Bantha as well. But when you make a sentry, when you bring 20 points of sentry droids, you have a sentry droid list in some ways. Although it's not quite fair because double jets, double sentries is I think as much of a so it's basically a trooper list. And
yeah, they share enough. They share like the droid vehicle trooper trifecta just makes that command deck basically builds itself into really good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Jake, do we have anything else to say about these kooky droids?
The last thing I have to say is that they were one of my favorite additions from the Rebels show, so I like having them.
Yeah, I think for the longest time I thought they were well, no, I didn't. I'm trying to remember if at first when I first saw them, I was like, oh, those are a pre the pre IG-88 model. That is not what they were.
They look like the Dark Troopers from the Jedi Knight series.
How do Dark Troopers continually come back?
Because they're cool. I mean,
you're listening to the Dark Trooper podcast, everyone. Hope you're enjoying this.
I mean, they were my favorite unit in Battlefront 2. That lightning gun was badass.
Yeah, that game was great. Oh, what a delightful game. Yeah, Jake, that's the end. That's everything we have to say about Sentry Droids. They're a good, again, I think they're at their peak of power in Imperials, and when you're playing them conservatively, so you're getting that constant, that consistent 4 damage every turn, basically.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you're kind of grinding them out. You're grinding your opponent out with them.
Yeah, if you can get both of your Sentry Droids off the one unit into round 4, you're in real good shape.
Oh my god, yeah. If you have a full activation of them, you're gonna do so well in the late game. But it's getting, if you don't get there, you can lose. The ability to incrementally lose their value is definitely a hard thing to overcome.
Right.
Yep. But that's it. I think that's all I have to say about it.
I think that's all I have to say too. Thank you so much for listening to our show, everybody. We are still alive. We will be putting out episodes, hopefully.
This is true. We will be. Awesome, Jake. Well, it was a pleasure.
Pleasure. Talk to you later.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.